Everyone for coming. This is a regular monthly meeting of the Stratford Town Council, November 12th, 2025. I'd like to thank everybody, welcome, and really value you being here and your engagement to this point on a number of the issues. So thanks all the residents who are here. We really appreciate your presence. First item on the agenda is to acknowledge the land upon which we gather is the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. The second item on our agenda is a request for any declaration of conflict of interest by any councillor around the table or staff member who has a conflict of interest with any of the items we're going to be covering here tonight. If you have a conflict of interest, please declare so now. If not, I'll move to item 3, approval of the agenda. And the agenda's in your package, it's before you. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda that anyone would like to propose? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Second, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. The minutes of your regular monthly meeting of regular council of the 8th of October 2025 are in your package. Is there any additions, deletions, or changes to those minutes that anyone would like to suggest? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of those minutes. Thank you. Second? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. Now, is there any business arising from those minutes that we won't be covering here tonight? Anything that anyone noticed that you'd like to raise at this time? If not, we'll move to presentations from the floor, and there are no presentations scheduled. Mayor's report. My report is in your package. I'll just briefly go over some highlights. We had a great meeting with MLAs Burridge and Redmond to discuss the draft official plan and some other Stratford issues. We had great Remembrance Day ceremony yesterday. It was a lot of good positive feedback from residents and those visiting from other jurisdictions, and it was a really successful and meaningful tribute to veterans. And I don't think we can do enough to pay tribute to those people who put their lives on the line for our freedoms and for our way of life. So for those who have served and for those who have died for our country and from our community, we really appreciate their service. And we want to show that and demonstrate it, which was done yesterday. And we should be doing this all year long. Planning committee, interesting planning committee, lots of good discussion, intergovernmental affairs. Also, a good discussion of how we can interact better with other departments of government and other possible partners. We had 3 public meetings to discuss the draft official plan and draft zoning and development bylaw. Great input from a lot of residents. There was very interesting discussion, a lot of good points raised, and a plan is now being redrafted and with that input in mind.
Do we have a date, Steve, for the public meeting?
Yeah, I think it's December 3rd. Okay. I think it went out today, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Had a meeting with provincial ministers, municipal elected officials, and nonprofit entities to discuss accessible taxi service. Right now, there's not a taxi service that's available to people who are different abilities, and so that's something that the province, municipalities, and nonprofit entities are working on together, and so there will be a further discussion on that front. And then we had a good meeting with the consultants and council after the official meetings and after the input we got to give the direction in terms of drafting a new official plan and zoning bylaw. Very honored to attend the Rural Beautification Awards ceremony, and the town received 2 awards, great awards for all the efforts, and also the Stratford Youth Center got a received an award for their memorial garden. So kudos to Heidi and Jeannie and all her staff, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Attended a conference of community leaders called Vibrant Communities, which really looks at the whole island and municipalities across the island to see how we can work together to work on joint initiatives to make our communities quality of life better and to have improve the future for our residents. We had to move the Halloween, and turns out that maybe it wasn't the best decision, but at the end of the day, it worked out. So it was good. We had the FPEIM semi-annual meeting and had a follow-up meeting to the FPEI Board of Directors to draft a strategic plan or work on a further strategic plan for the Federation of PEI Municipalities.
I was sort of disappointed on Halloween, but the process of changing the night and, you know, it's...
Yeah, we didn't want to be out of sync with the other two sister municipalities, Cornwall and Charlottetown.
But
So
you think provincial EMO would step up?
that's what we were hoping. We're in contact with them, and that didn't, that wasn't provided. So
So they-
without that direction, we pretty
Yeah.
well had to go with the largest municipality, what they were
Okay.
doing, because we didn't want to be out of step with Charlottetown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my report. Any questions or comments on my report?
I got a small one. The cab service, it's amazing. Like in Charlottetown, there's actually a street where if you call a cab on the left side of the street, it's $9 more expensive than going across the street and calling for a cab on the right side of the street. Like that stuff to me is archaic. And
Stay on the left side of the street.
well, I guess that's the moral here, but it's amazing. I mean, my kids are in their deep 20s, but
Yeah.
many times this summer I'd go pick them up because first of all it was an arm and a leg cost to go across the bridge, even if you're at say you're at the Dublin pub or something not very far away to Stratford, it could be $35-40 to come over here, and just crazy. I just thought that price was so, and if you went on the other side of the street, it's $9 more of that. So I'm just saying that it's nice to have a unified number that people know they're going to get it when they order a cab,
Yeah.
no matter where you are in Charlottetown or Cornwall or whatever, to come to Stratford or vice versa.
I'm not sure if you heard that Charlottetown, they did away with their taxi bylaw now, so because of the rise of online
Okay.
services and that sort of thing, and that's the way of the future. It's probably ride sharing and that sort of thing, so it is...
It's not fully implemented though yet.
They haven't, they did away with their taxi bylaw.
Yeah.
Taxi.
Yeah,
No,
so
when was that though?
that was a few months ago, yeah.
Yeah,
that
that's what I
was
mean. I'm
probably
talking
6
like
months
last
ago,
summer,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
is it fully implemented though? Is it fully underway right now?
What is underway?
What they just you
They
just
just,
talked-
they
yeah.
did away with it.
Oh,
They
okay,
don't
so
have a
it's
taxi
totally gone
bylaw
away now.
anymore,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah, so I know what you're speaking about. You're speaking about zones and,
Yeah.
yeah, but taxis are free to do basically whatever they
Right.
want now.
So there's
in
still other
Charlottetown.
places like Cornwall and
But
other places.
what this
that-
meeting was about was accessible, people that
Yeah.
are physically challenged or whatever,
Yeah.
they can, right now, there's been a couple instances where they haven't been able to get a taxi that can handle them, so
Right, exactly.
they,
Oh, okay.
so
Okay.
they want to work together. One jurisdiction can't do it by itself,
Right.
so we need to have it so that it's, shared, cost shared with the provincial government,
Right.
municipalities, and,
So it's not just Pat and the Elephant, it's, it's.
well, Pat and the Elephant only operates in certain hours, and
Right.
Yeah,
people that want to
exactly,
go
exactly.
out for the evening to a function or a social event or something, they're
Yeah.
not able to do that.
So are more services looking at adding, so they can, people in wheelchairs, accessibility, or is that?
Yeah, that's what
coming?
this is all about. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what the meeting was all about, yeah.
All right.
And so trying to find a way to, because right now it's not profitable, there's not enough critical mass to make it worth,
Okay.
business from a business
All right.
sense. So
Yeah.
it needs subsidies from government sources, from either federal, provincial, or and municipal.
All right, thank you.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So the next item, is there any other comments or questions on my report? No?
No, it's great, Steve.
Okay, Chief Administrative Officer report. I'll ask Jeremy Crosby, our CAO, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. My report is in your package. I'll just go over a few brief highlights. Along with the Deputy CAO and infrastructure staff, I attended several meetings to discuss the design and construction of the new pavilion that's going to be constructed on the waterfront. We have our funding in place there now, and we have an RFP out, so we'll be reviewing that next week and hopefully awarding it, and construction will begin next year, so looking forward to that. Along with the mayor and Deputy CAO, I attended the 20th anniversary celebration for the transit system between the three communities. It was great to see all the individuals who contributed to the system over the years and the success we've seen so far, and looking forward to future upgrades and expansion of our transit system here in Stratford. And as the mayor indicated, we attended the meeting with Representatives Pat and the Elephant, government officials and stakeholders to talk about the establishment of the accessible taxi service. And the mayor indicated a lot of reasons why we needed it, but it's also a lot of the accessible services that are there now through Pat and the Elephant don't go late into the evening. So if someone's at a party or if they're at a function that's late in the evening, they don't really have a way to get home. So we're working together with the other communities to make sure that something will happen. And I know that there is an RFP going out, and groups like Pat and the Elephant will apply to that and hopefully come up with a solution. So participated in all the public consultations with regard to the draft official plan. A lot of feedback from residents, good feedback, and subsequent to that, myself and the planning staff had a meeting to discuss what we heard. I know that the report came out there on Friday and was sent out Monday evening, but we heard right from the residents from those meetings, and we did go ahead and look at the plan and how we would change the first draft and come up with the second draft for council and residents to consider. So that's underway, and yeah, there's all kinds of other things going on in the town, but any questions on my report, I'm willing to answer them.
I do, Jeremy. Thank you. And I'm not sure if this is CAO area or not, but I'm just wondering if there's any update on the policy work. I know we've been talking about updating our policies and see some pickleball folks in the room. There's some really outdated policies that we have. Parks, playing fields, and facilities is from 2012. Our OHS policies from 2010. Employee background check, especially with all the stuff going on at PSP, 2005. And our personnel policy, 2014. It's 11 years old today. So I'm just wondering if we can dedicate some time and efforts to that. If not, I'll put forward a requested budget time to hire somebody looking at those.
Glad you brought that up. We did decide at a meeting quite a while ago that we would start off with the HR and staff policies. So there's 3 drafts that I'm actually looking at on my table now with the help with our HR representative, Michelle. So we'll be bringing that forward to a committee of the whole meeting soon. Don't know if it'll get to the next meeting. We have a pretty full agenda, but probably before the new year or into the new year, there will be several policies coming towards council on the HR side, and then we can definitely dig into the next section, whether it be recreation or infrastructure that we'd like to look at next. But yes, those policies are coming here very soon.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's just really more of a comment. If capacity is an issue, it'd be nice to kind of set aside some dollars to, if we need
Sure.
someone to do that. Because I know everybody's strapped for time right now, but just it's something that needs to get done. And I know it's hard amongst all the other things, but I hope we can find a way, one way or another.
I think we're okay for now. Like our new HR representative did get underway with those policies, and they are really spending a lot of time to make sure we get them right and looking at best practices with other municipalities and other areas of similar style work that we do here. So those will be coming to you very shortly for review, and then we'll bring them back to council for official resolutions and passing them there. So, but thanks for bringing that up. Any other questions?
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is item number 9, safety services. Our RCMP representative, constable's not, or corporal's, constable's not here. Oh, sorry, you are here. I'm sorry, I didn't see. Constable Darren Doucette, I'm sorry. You're undercover.
Not anymore, he's on TV.
All right. So
There's-
basically, I'll Oh, it's loud. I'll be going over just a summary of what I was provided this morning. So during the month of October, Stratford RCMP recorded 358 occurrences with 340 founded or still under investigation. These stats are slightly higher than last month's 347 occurrences and higher than September 24, where we recorded 288 occurrences. So it's kind of picked up in a time when it's not supposed to pick up for us. We had 169 occurrences related to traffic enforcement, making up for almost 49% of our monthly occurrences. We issued 53 summary offense tickets and 62 warnings during the month. There were 24 summary offense tickets and 24 warnings issued for speeding within Stratford. We had 4 impaired driving occurrences, charging 1 driver for impaired driving over the legal limit, providing samples of 390 milligrams percent and 380 milligrams percent. Wow. Which is well over 4 times the legal limit after the driver hit.
Almost poison.
It says here 5 parked cars, but it was 4 parked cars. You only hit 4. That was my file. So we had 14 motor vehicle collisions, and we did 20 step files, which is select traffic enforcement program files, and 5 check stops for community involvement and police initiatives. Our members in Stratford attended the Stratford Elementary School, Glen Stewart School, and the Dona Regional School.
Great.
Any questions on any of that? Because I'm gonna pretend I know the answer.
Yeah.
So, if I might, right here,
I have no idea where it's at.
I'm not hiding.
There you are. Gotcha.
I'm just looking at the property crime breakdown, and it certainly seems that a fairly, I guess, unfortunately busy month in the property crime department.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The theft unders, I know that there's 23.4% of the calls, so that's, give or about 10%, or about 10 calls for theft under, give or take.
Give or take.
Would those include so-called gas and dashes, or have you separated those out, or?
The majority of our gas and dash isn't what you would traditionally call a gas and dash. It's mostly people who've tried to tap and pay and then just drive off, and then we call them, they come back and pay.
And
So the
would that
majority
be,
of that
that's
is-
not included in your stats anymore, is it? Or I'm just trying to get a sense.
I wouldn't think that'd be included in those stats.
Okay.
A lot of our property-related stuff had to do with people leaving cars unlocked. We had some car thefts with people leaving keys in the car.
Yeah.
There was one particular area just up the road here that got hit.
Williams Gate.
Well, yes, Williams Gate. That has eight or nine different homes hit. Most of those guys didn't call in. I got the initial one and just walked around, talked to people, and found out. Nothing was really taken, oddly enough, but cars were rummaged through. Someone left an apple inside of one of them. It was just bizarre.
Yeah. I'll just say this, and this is someone, yeah, I know.
That speaker's killing me.
It's halfway to, it's mostly a comment rather than a question, but certainly, it's unfortunate to say, but comments from residents in the town with respect to crime are similar to your numbers going up. I'm getting more comments about crime and more of a perception that there are some issues cropping up. And I certainly know that you folks absolutely know how to do your job, but we'll just ask that you be vigilant, especially as it relates to the entrance to Stratford from people coming over across the bridge. There's lots of reports of people coming over who might not have real business here in Stratford, so I know you know that.
Yeah, we turned away many of them.
Yeah, and we certainly appreciate that. Ask that you continue to do so.
Well,
Yeah.
we will.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I just want to say that, again, I'm really grateful for the vigilance and the visibility and the work you're doing. I think we're getting good value for our policing contract, and I think the results are are excellent. I really like the fact that you're keeping an eye on speeding in neighborhoods. That to me, and that you're visiting schools and working with seniors and in all areas of the population to get the message out about safety and how to stop crime. So how to keep people safe. So thank you for everything you're doing.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Are there any other
Sorry.
questions for Councilman Doucette?
I was going to say something,
You
yeah.
got
Go ahead,
something?
Ron.
No,
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, is there any other questions?
Yeah, I was just going to compliment you on the selective traffic enforcement program there. 20 occurrences, that's, I don't know, is that led by the corporal, sign and file?
No, it's
So-
usually just guys
Yeah,
sitting in
shift.
the office, and if there's nothing pertinent going on, we'll just
That's
jump in
really-
the car and go and do it.
Yeah, really good to see you there. And then, as Councilor McDonald said, maybe with the crime at this time of year and so on, I mean, you do have resources to combat some of the crime if it gets out of hand, but I compliment you on that. And also, yesterday's Remembrance Day, I mean, there's 20-plus members to come out and march. It was really nice to see, I tell you, very nice to see the red surge and so on there, and especially in Canada and everything else. It was good. So-
Yeah, I neglected to mention that. That was excellent. Thank your commanding officer and anybody involved in that, everybody that took part. That was a great gesture, and it was really good to see, so really appreciated that.
Absolutely, I'll let them know. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think the public realizes how long it takes you guys to get into those red surges and stuff, because, yeah, my father used to be RCMP, and that was quite a challenge watching him get
Anyway, thanks a lot,
in,
Councilman.
so thank you very much.
Constable Doucette. Thank you.
I think Ronnie has a question.
No question, just a comment. As we all know, sometimes when you see a particular spike in crime, particularly as it relates to property crime, it can often be associated to one individual or a group of individual going on a spree, so to speak, and that can spike it in any period of time. But it's unfortunate that we have crime, and we look at those readings for the impaired driving, it's bordering on alcohol poisoning, and they're driving a vehicle.
Yeah.
So thankfully, we do have the police there to combat that, and we thank them for all that they do. I'm just going to back up for a second, Your Worship, to 9A, the Safety Services unapproved meeting minutes of October 20th, 2025. They've been circulated, and just inquiring if there's any questions or comments in relation to those minutes.
Yeah, just to say something there, I mean, and Jeff could attest to this too, and the data, increased data is not good, but at the same time, justification, budget time, if we're looking at data, if you're looking at another member and so on, and I know Moncton itself, the RCMP asked for 8 members, and they didn't have the data, and so I encouraged the Superintendent Lewis there to put the data together to justify another member or during our budget time. Good discussion around the table.
Okay. Any other questions or comments in relation to the unapproved minutes?
Maybe not the minutes, but just to safety services before we move on. Is there any update on the E-Watch? How many cameras, if we've increased that number? I think I've seen more around, maybe on Mason. I don't know if that's a private camera or not down by. But anyway, just wondering if there's any update on those.
Yeah, I think Director Woodard can provide you with some on recent installs and what's pending.
We weren't sure who wanted to step up. I can report that we do have one new installation for sure at the intersection of Kepik, Georgetown Road, and Pownell Road. That was a long time coming. The city had some issues with the pole and permissions to mount there, but it is up and running, so happy to report that.
Great, thank you. I think that would be beneficial in trying to find maybe those not doing kind things, so we're covering off all of our exits essentially going down that way. I think that was smart. Thank you.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Great.
The fact that we're covering, so if someone knew there was a way to get out without being seen, we've covered that. I think it was very strategic in doing that, so I appreciate that. I know because there were some thefts, I think, at Green Diamond at one point, and you know, very brave right by the RCMP barracks, but there were ways to get out around, so now it's nice to see there aren't.
I just wanted to add, the CAO just reminded me, the camera on Mason Road that was referenced was installed by Maritime Electric. It's outside of their property there. Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe we do have a new program in the works to encourage business participation in a way that provides for best coverage of the municipality overall, not focusing on any particular business per se, but we certainly want to continue to increase the number of cameras that we have available for law enforcement, and you know, that work will continue on. Any other questions? Okay, 9D then, Your Worship, the Humane Society report. That's been circulated as well. There's been 3 licenses issued, and I'd urge everyone who has a dog, if they don't already, to get a license. It's very beneficial if the dog should get away, particularly if the dog is not chipped, but even if it's chipped, it can save a lot of time and effort if they have a license on them that can be easily referred to. And there was in the previous iteration of the agenda a breakdown, maybe it's up top here, yes, there it is, the stats for the month-to-month stats in relation to Humane Society patrols and report on incidents within the community. So there have been 21 community patrols in October. Otherwise, there's nothing anomalous on the report. But is there any questions in relation to the Humane Society reports as circulated?
So, Councillor Donnelly, just based on the report, there are 7 dogs, 7 in Stratford. Is that right, based on this year today? Is that an annual? I'm guilty myself. I have 2 dogs, so don't come after me. But 7 licenses for this year to date?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Sorry, Jeannie. It was more of a statement than I'll make that 9 here shortly.
I just wanted to say, I believe that that's just what's registered through the Humane Society. We here register ourselves, and that number is much higher. I don't have that right now, but I know that we do register quite a few right here at Town Hall.
So these are just Humane Society stats? Yeah.
Okay, moving on then to 9E, Crossroads Fire Company report. I note for October there were 20 call-outs within the district, 15 of which were within Stratford. And there's a breakdown that has been circulated to council prior. If there's any questions in relation to the fire company report or the fire company in general. Okay, hearing nothing, Your Worship, I just have a couple of comments that I want to make. And one is you touched on the Rural Beautification Society Awards. I was also able to attend that. And Stratford did receive awards in 2 categories. One, the Community Spirit People's Choice Award, and the other, the Community Commemorative Garden Award. And as well, the Youth Center members for their award as Best Youth Garden. And I want to commend Heidi and her staff for all of the hard work they do for, you know, the beautification across Stratford. And Stratford continues to become recognized as, you know, for its garden space and parkland. And I want to congratulate staff and Director Woodard for her strategic vision in that regard. It's always a pleasure to be out walking my dog, who has a license, throughout Stratford, as I do every day, to see all of the gardens and driving through the community. It's just, it's so nice. And also, Your Worship, just to comment on the Remembrance Day ceremony, I want to thank everyone who was involved with that monumental task, both our staff, various staff members, and all of the volunteers that were involved in order to be able to pull something like that off. It's a lot of work. It seems seamless and effortless when you're standing by watching it, but it's everything but. And I also want to give a shout out as well to Melanie Weatherby for spearheading the Poppy Project and all of the people that were involved with that in so many ways, not just within Stratford, but people coming from other communities, people sending in poppies from other countries. You know, it's just the community engagement that was involved with that project is just beyond compare, and it's you know, it's heartwarming just to look at the visuals on Remembrance Day, but even today coming into this meeting to see how the hallway is still set up, it's fantastic, and you know, just kudos to everyone involved. That will complete my report, Your Worship, unless anyone has any other questions.
Any other questions? Thank you for your report, Councillor. Okay. Next item on the agenda is Recreation, Culture, and Events. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Cox, to give his report.
Thank you, Mayor. The Recreation, Culture, and Events Committee met on Thursday, October 23rd, to talk about potential waterfront additions, town center hours of operation, especially around holidays, some other town events, and include updates on youth center, arts and recreation programs, etc. So it's nice to have that meeting on that date. Once again, I think Ron touched on the Poppy Project, which was supposed to be 4,000 poppies, and it grew to 12,000. And then at the end, after the deadline, another 2,000 come in that have been set aside for potential repairs, replacements, etc. in the future. So that was really exceptional to see that. Outside, we had the two flagpoles decorated, and the recreation doors, etc., and of course display inside. And in addition, a camouflage drape has been arranged in a blanket form. It has been prepared for the War Museum display. So it's nice to see that. And I think Ron thanked Melanie, etc., and all the volunteers. There was 250 individuals who contributed to crocheting or knitting poppies or made donations. And also another 155 people helped zip tie the poppies to netting. And in total, there were 7 organizations who helped out in what a lot of the knitters called a labor of love or work of love. So really great. Thank you. Kudos to everyone involved with that. Stratford Youth Center and Council, despite challenging weather, the trick-or-treaters event was a success with 172 children attending. Now, normally they have about 300 kids that come to this, and kudos also to the fact that they actually told us the exact number is 299. They could have just lied and said it was 300 again, but the fact that typically the event tracks around 300 children. The Haunted Trail ran from Saturday and Sunday evenings and drew 299. So the Stratford Youth Council's home decoration contest saw 7 entries with prizes awarded to the top 3, and first place went to 43 Holland Drive. The Youth Center currently has 84 members, along with 4 members from the Youth Engagement Team. They'll be kicking off their annual Christmas raffle in mid-November, so make sure you get your tickets, including Stevie Glant. And with funds raised going towards supporting a local family during the holiday season. Stratford Youth Council members assist in Remembrance Day ceremony. It's great to see them here helping out. And they will be participating in the Christmas in the Park event coming up. So the youth here are always involved, no matter what we're having. If there's an event here in Stratford, it seems like the youth is part of that. So, you know, big thanks to Dwayne and all the crew there and all the youth. In addition to these activities, the Stratford Youth Center Garden Club recently earned first place in the Youth Garden category at the 2025 PEI Rural Beautification Society Annual Awards. The center also launched a new leadership club with 23 youth from 7 to 11. And in this club program, they are developing leadership skills, etc., which is great to see. And they'll continue to work on this as they work towards their leadership trip that'll be in the summer of 2027. So once again, hats off to our excellent Stratford Youth Center that amazes me and amazes all of us every day. Remembrance Day service that took place here, in my opinion, was the best I've ever seen here at the, from sound by Richie Bolger to our MC, Scott Ferris, to everything that was done by, like we said, Melanie, Rachel, all the staff here that did things in our maintenance crew, et cetera. And we can just go on and on with the amount of people. Wendy and Jeremy, both Jeremys, like everybody that helped out here was exceptional. So I want to keep going. I'll just miss people, and I probably already have. But thank you so much for that. The children's Christmas event is scheduled for Friday, November 28th from 6 to 7 p.m. Traditionally, the March of the Elves will be held on Thursday, December 18th from 1 to 2 at Andrews of Stratford. Under programs, the Soft Pastels program will be offered in November, providing participants with an opportunity to explore their creativity using soft pastels in a guided setting. And then finally, skills and drills hockey will begin on October 4th in Pownell with Coach Ross Burton. Once again, he's returning for another season to lead these sessions. Additionally, various indoor tennis programs will be offered, providing opportunities for players to improve their skills in control and indoor settings. So there was a fair bit going on in Stratford in the past month, and great to see that every one of them was a success. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple questions. The pickleball, so we have the new facility opening, I think in January. But saw some emails from folks around the reduction in times for our current group. So I'm just wondering that's been a long-established group, and I'm not sure what is going to fill those times, or imagine, what else would go in those. But is there any update on that as to, it's tough to understand how, if Dairy Queen comes, this doesn't mean I'm going to stop cooking supper at home. It's another option. But I can take it away. So I'm trying to understand why we are reducing that so much when the others are private. It's great for folks that have $100 a month, and I support that and will buy a membership. But just wondering what is going to fill those spots. I'm not sure what the urgency to fill is.
We're still working through the process of what the pickleball specific program will look like. The town has always been an advocate of other organizations as they grow to not counter those or have programs similar to what they offer, similar to what we do with baseball and softball. We've reduced programming when they've grown. So we were looking at the opportunity of looking at the pickleball program offering as a whole within our community, whether it be here within the town and what's being offered at the New Atlantic Pickleball Association or Atlantic Pickleball Club that will open, that we now expect will be probably February. The town is proud of the pickleball program. It started in 2016 with roughly 20 individuals. It's grown over the course of the years. Stratford is the largest pickleball offering within Prince Edward Island, and we're happy to see that. And we know that there will be 360 days or 65 days of pickleball being offered, whether it be here or at that facility. As in regards to the programs, that's something that we're looking at in terms of recreation, and we'll take it to the Recreation Committee with some suggestions on the 27th. And we know that we've offered a spot for the pickleball community to come to a presentation that evening. We have an individual who's reached out on their behalf, so we look forward to hearing that. And then we'll come back with recommendations so that pickleball is continuing to be offered here within the community, but also within the new establishment as well. So we know that come February, we'll be the largest pickleball offering within Stratford, within all of Atlantic Canada. So pretty happy to see that.
If I could, Jeremy, there's no decision has been made yet, eh?
No.
No, and
No
so
permanent program,
council will
no.
get an opportunity based on the recommendations from the rec committee to recommend or to decide on what the new program will look like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, another question, Jeremy can stay,
Sure.
if that's okay. And I'll get to this in finance, but the field maintenance this year, obviously, field maintenance costs are down a lot with the essential drought that we had. I did meet with some baseball folks at McNeil Field just late in the fall who are hoping to host the National Senior Baseball, but there's some things that need to be done to McNeil if we were to do that, like the infield, resodding the infield would be nice. Just reshaping that. I know it's dangerous, and I know it hadn't been dragged in a while, but I know it is getting to that point. So I'm just hoping some funds can be, if there was a realization of some savings there this year that we could put some money back into that field. Not much, but resodding the infield would be a nice start. The mound is essentially washed out, and I know it's after the season, but it's rough. So just maybe something for later.
Yeah, one of the good things about McNeil, Lower McNeil, is right now we have 2 different age groups playing on that, where your mound has the standard 60-feet mound. It also has a 52-foot mound. So it gets double beat up, so to speak, with 2 different landing spots. The infield has 80-foot bases and 90-foot bases. The 80-foot bases are essentially right on the edge, and so you have athletes running on that and fielding on that in that same area. So with the new, one of the new fields in the community campus is right size for U15 level of play, so that should mitigate some of those concerns going forward. The infield maintenance of the turf infield is a little bit, well, quite a bit different than the maintenance of all our other ones. So some additional equipment and possibly resodding would be required of that, or reshaping of that.
And that's not a knock on the folks that are looking after it. I think it's just with, like you said, with that different play and it being not just a senior, a 15 overfield, that leads to that. Just the grass is very sparse, and if there's some dollars, it'd be nice to, while we're building those other ones for the other age groups, to just spruce that one up a little bit if we can. Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay, thank you.
If I can just say one last thing.
I think.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
CEO Crosby,
yeah,
but
I'll
I'll get to you right
after, yeah.
Based on our revenue sharing agreement that we have, we may have some additional funds available to look at those things, and we're going to be bringing some information to council here very soon, but that's certainly one we can look at, among others. So there may be some additional funds available for that.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Cox?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, that's the reason I didn't include pickleball in the report. Just waiting for a little bit more information from the staff as we move forward, and soon we'll have a little bit clearer picture there with that. We can present it next
I think we
report.
follow our normal process, yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Any other comments or questions for Councillor Cox?
Just one comment, although it's certainly, don't want to beat the dead horse or anything like that, but just with respect to yesterday's Remembrance Day ceremonies, certainly by far the best attended that I can recall in recent time, and also just with respect to the programming, just a fantastic event. Obviously the Poppy Project, enough can't be said about that, and frankly it should be national news as far as I'm concerned, not just local news, about the effort involved and the number of people who contributed to that. That's that's a heck of a story. But it wasn't just a Poppy Project. It was even seeing the crosswalk painted for Remembrance Day, seeing the new mural on the utility shed, and just the quality of the programming, and the local feature of the programming, having the lieutenant present the keynote. I think all of it just came together in just a really, really special way, in a very meaningful way. So just kudos to everybody in recreation. I tried to express my sincere thanks to as many of those people as I could in person, but I just wanted to have my comments reflected about my sincere appreciation for all of that.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, if not, thanks for your report. We'll now move on to Finance and Technology. I'll ask Councillor Jody Jackson to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. And just to follow on Jeff's comment, or Councillor McDonald's comment, I think I mentioned last week, I've got a sister that's a veteran. Her husband's a veteran. So my sister's and don't laugh, intelligence officer, master warrant officer. So she gets that somewhere else. My dad's oldest brother was a U.S. Army World War II vet. And my father-in-law, you guys probably see him around here, but he's a vet. He's been all over the world. My uncle Fred Bradley is here. He's about 90. I don't know if he was here yesterday, but it meant a lot. It was great to see yesterday. Just the appreciation. I know we've talked about it. I probably should have talked about it under rec, but to everyone, to the whole staff, the whole community, just how important that is to every family. I think we've all been touched by it. So kudos to all the staff. And Melanie, really kind of for taking that, Jeremy, for everybody allowing this to get to the extent it did. Very impressive. So just wanted to say that before I get into the finance report. So just briefly, in the essence of time here, so we had just some highlights Disconnect notices were issued this month, but none of them were actually disconnected. Everyone made payments on their accounts. We had over 3,900 quarterly utility bills issued in October with a November 21st payment date. That was reflective of the strike, and so we had a little extra time there. EFT functionality was implemented to enable utility vendors to be paid electronically, vendors to be proactively encouraged to switch from check to EFT. So that's great news, especially with the mail strike and all of the things. It seems a quarterly mail strike now. Preparation for 26-27 budget are underway. Meetings have been scheduled for January with department managers and February with council. Communication seeking public input will be sent within the next month, and public presentation on the draft budget will be scheduled for early March. So for folks that are interested in making requests, there will be a time to do that, but it's never a bad thing to send it in through the appropriate committee or to your council or to the mayor to be reviewed. Let me see here. Staff reviewed the recently released federal budget for potential funding opportunities. So a new Build Community Strong Fund is being launched by the federal government. It'll encompass the existing Canada Community Building Fund, the gas tax, and will also offer additional infrastructure funding streams that the town may be able to benefit from. So we're hopeful that they're going to come through for us. The application opportunities are going to be identified as more details are released. We also had staff member attend Association of Municipal Administrators Professional Development Day, and staff are, like every other month, really, really busy with day-to-day tasks, and we appreciate everything they do. Any questions just on the update from the Finance Department?
Just a comment with regard to the Build Community Strong Fund. We are meeting with MP Kent McDonald on Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock to follow up opportunities for the town on that.
Great. And he's been very out front with his support for us and hoping he can bring that home from Ottawa. Anything else on that? I was just going to talk about a couple things in the revenue statements. I did note for October, the report, police fines are up substantially over last year, which is great to see, and it kind of coincides with the excellent coverage, Your Worship, that you're mentioning out in the community there. Again, I mentioned field maintenance is down, obviously, because of the weather. Let me see here. So we're doing well so far through 7 months of the year. See if I have any other notes here. Does anyone have any questions on these? I just had some notes. Again, we're only partway through the year, but things are looking good so far. Yeah, some miscellaneous, which I think are funding dollars that weren't anticipated potentially. Is that correct, Crystal? I know there's a couple of large miscellaneous in there, and
is that within the revenue section?
there's one. Yeah, there was one that was substantial in the miscellaneous in the revenue, Town of Stratford revenue. We had budgeted. We're substantially over our budget on that one for what we received. Is that any idea what?
Yeah, so that's predominantly related to gain on sale of land. So
Okay.
that would tend to be something that would be below our regular operating surplus in the actual financial statements.
Okay, great. And there was one in the utility, I believe, and maybe that might have been. I'm just trying to think. Let me see here. Yeah, just in the utility revenue, there was the actual versus budget. Looks quite high. Any idea what that is? Maybe we can take that one back if it's not.
No,
if it's not really available.
and that's with regards to donated sewer and water assets from a developer.
Perfect. Anyone else have any questions for Crystal while she's up?
I do, and it may be, I might impose upon Crystal. It's hard to believe we are rounding up on the end of the calendar year, and we're soon going to be in our fairly in-depth budget discussions to prepare for the next year. Has there been a date set for the cutoff of submissions for inclusion in the budget? Do you know?
No, there hasn't been an official date set, so
Okay.
As Councillor Jackson mentioned, we will be seeking some public input throughout December, and then we're asking all of the committees to include it within their agendas in January. The management team will be meeting a number of times throughout January, and then there will be meetings with council in February.
Great, okay, yep. So still time?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I guess the message is that there's time to provide input right up until the time the budget is, the first draft budget is submitted, eh? Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, that's the way we usually do it. We do a draft budget based on input received to date, send that out for further input for a 2 or 3 week period, and then we finalize the budget around the middle to end of March.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think before, until the ink is dry, it's up for grabs. Just with that, I've heard from a lot of residents, and I don't know if anybody else has any questions, but with the kind of slower progress with the campus, just the consideration around our intended tax increase, 3 years, whether that is still the case. I haven't said anything about that other than, we'll see where we're at when that comes, but I have been getting a lot of feedback from residents that are strapped already and who would like us to really, really think about that when the time comes, whether we continue with this 2 cent. So I agree with them. So just something to keep in mind as we go forward, especially based on the performance we've seen so far this year. I know it's early days, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah, we'll be having a discussion about that. Yep.
In relation to our February consultations with council, will we have the opportunity to review our priority setting exercise in light of the new official plan, which, hopefully will be in place by then, maybe not, I don't know. But I think we'll have a pretty good handle on that, as well as the whole community campus project. As we know, we've had a lot of delays in relation to partner funding with that, and we're still awaiting clarity on funding from the federal government, I believe, and maybe there's been updates since I've had any awareness on that. And that brings us to the tax issue that Councillor Jackson had raised. I mean, we are really going to have to sit as a council on that particular issue and have a really concerted conversation as to what the size and scope of that project is going to be, or whether that project is going to be minimalist at start with expansion over time, because reducing taxes isn't going to give us the capacity to increase the size and scope of the project. Maybe if we went into larger volume of borrowing, that might enable us to put us in a position, as Councillor Jackson had mentioned, to reduce that 3% that had been imposed for the purpose of this project. So I would like the opportunity for council to sit with staff and look at that project as it relates to the budget overall, and as well to review. We're at the 3-year mark now, almost precisely, of this term, and this next exercise will bring us into conclusion of this term, and we want to be able to tie it off from this council's perspective without putting too much projection or onus on future councils. We want to do what we can as a council, and I just like the opportunity to go through and re-examine the priorities and make sure that we're all still consistently in line or in agreement with those priorities that we'd set out previously.
Yeah, if it's a wish of council, we'll certainly do that to Councillor Goodpoints, and we will note that and follow it up with a discussion before the as part of the budget process, and if maybe supplementary or contiguous at the same time, we can have a special meeting to look at priorities, see what council's wishes are. Okay.
Just to add to that we do have it on our agenda for upcoming department head meetings to start going through the priority setting exercise, but also to look at other priorities that we may be able to bring forward to council, and also that council will bring forward to us. As I said, now that we have the revenue sharing agreement that's in place, there are some additional funds there, and we want to make sure that we use them appropriately within the town to provide the services that are needed, so.
Yeah, and thank you, Jeremy, and Councillor Dowling on that. And we just got to be mindful that with the recent budget, federal budget, and our provincial budget, but especially the federal, we have a lot of federal employees here. There's going to be a substantial downsizing of federal government, and we got to keep that in mind. So we don't want to layer on an already tough time for some folks. We're not sure how that's all going to shake out yet, but we got to be mindful of that. So I think priority is a great, discussion with staff, with Jeremy, and also kind of looking at more of these, some updated projections on growth and things like that, and what we can assume, because it's a different landscape than it was last year or 2 years ago for sure. So anything else before we move on? I just want to bring that up. I mean, it should be top of mind for us anyway, but just want to get it out there that I've been hearing from a lot of folks, and it's not lost, the gravity of the situation out there right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions for Councillor Jackson? If not, I'll ask, thank you for your report, Councillor. We'll now move on to Planning, Development, and Heritage. I'll ask Councillor Jeff McDonald, Chair of that committee, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the minutes there from our most recent planning committee meeting are there for your review, though certainly they will be distilled mostly to the resolution that is before you here this evening. I will begin with our usual review of the development summary for this month of October. A couple of things jump out for me when I look at the development value summary. First thing is that we had an excellent month. There was an incredibly healthy mix of development in the town between single detached dwellings as well as missing middle and townhouse and duplex and semi-detached and stacked semi-development, but also a healthy amount of commercial added in there as well. So all told, an excellent month of $4.6 million in development. And one thing that really jumped out to me, and that's been consistent when you look at the year-to-date value of our development summary here in the town, is that I know there's a lot of conversations within our community about densification and a lot of comments in our town about changing the character of the town. But I will point out that even now, to date, the overwhelming largest single value development value line item in our development value is still single detached dwellings. And that's been the case year over year here in Stratford. So despite the fact that there are these conversations, single family dwellings still lead the way, and it is not anticipated that that is going to change in the near future either. So all of which is to say we had a great month this past month. So kudos to Planning Department for efficiently and effectively getting through all of the workload that they have. And it certainly contributes to our the character here of this town, but also brings in much needed income in the form of developable land as well as valuable permits so that we can actually provide the services that our residents expect. So we do have two resolutions before us this evening. The first one is Resolution PH 056-2023 RZ 003-25. This is from Grove Developments Limited, requesting a zoning bylaw amendment to our map, looking to amend PIDs 912410, 677344, 677336, 677328, and 190082 from R1 low density to R2 medium density. It comes from Planning and Heritage and is moved by myself as a chair of that committee. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas an application has been received from Grove Developments Limited requesting to rezone 5 lots located off Swallow Drive from the low-density residential R1 zone to the medium-density residential zone R2. And whereas in accordance with the Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw, 69 notification letters were sent out to property owners whose parcels are within 150 meters of the subject properties. 2 advertisements were placed in the Guardian on September the 19th and September 27th, 2025. And the proposed zoning amendment was advertised on social media to solicit input and to notify residents of the public meeting. Whereas the public meeting was held on September 29th, 2025 at 7 p.m., but was also live streamed on the town's Facebook and YouTube sites. Residents were given until October 4th, 2025 to submit their comments. And whereas comments from the town's live stream are read into the record and recorded in the minutes, and whereas planning staff received 2 response letters from residents before the meeting and 5 additional letters after the meeting, before the October 3rd deadline, concerns were expressed regarding potential negative impacts on land values from the stacked townhouse dwellings, the limited parking spaces, increased traffic, and the potential density. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45X, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45, be hereby read and approved a first time. And this resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning, Development, and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on November 3rd, 2025.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Thank you. Council. Okay, discussion.
So before any comments or questions from councillors, what I might do is I might call upon our planner, Mr. Philip Ruff, who's present here tonight, to provide an overview. He has provided within your agenda packages a rezoning assessment submission that I certainly found helpful, and I'd ask him to provide some highlights of that and some of the more salient points that we ought to be considering when considering this first reading on a rezoning.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, thank you for that. So this is the request from Grove Development to rezone from R1 to R2. As some of you guys may be aware, this is actually the second application. There was a similar request in 2023. They were looking at the time to go from the R1 zone, the low density, to the planned unit residential development, the PERD zone. At the time, that one was reviewed by council, and it was turned down for a number of reasons. Predominantly, it was premature to rezone the lands when the nearby Kelly Heights R2 zone was still largely undeveloped. The PERD zone allowed for the potential for an apartment building, was a concern raised. Potential traffic from the development may impact the neighborhood, and the scale of the proposed development will be out of character with the neighborhood. Since then, there have been a couple of changes occurred in the area. So phase 3 of Kelly Heights has started. The road is very close to being deemed public, and the lots are starting to be sold, as well as there is a townhouse development or stacked townhouse development going in right next door. The R2 zone, the proposed R2 zone does not allow apartments, so that concern from 2023 is negated. The traffic, the province has reviewed the proposal and they have no concerns from the traffic side. And then in terms of the scale and density of the development, so with pretty much any future development of land will need to comply with the zoning at that place. And essentially with proper site planning, you can fit a development in to an area, so it actually complements the scale of the neighborhood. If you can open up the Grove Development number 2. So as part of the application, there was an assessment done by the applicant. This is standard we requested from any applications for rezoning. They always have to provide some reasoning other than because I want it. So they did go through with some reasoning. So in terms of the water and sewer, it fits in the area. It's not impacts through there. Sorry, give me a second, I lost my page. In terms of impacts on the development character, so the proposed development represents a respectful intensification of residential land use, and it complements the transition towards more diverse housing options. And then the housing, the height setbacks and massing can be done at a compatible scale to the area through here. Sorry, I missed a page in my report, that's why. still, that didn't help. Okay, so in terms of, I'll cover off a little bit of the planning analysis on this one. So the section 3.2 of our zone bylaw outlines the general procedures for amendments to the zone bylaw. And we have some general criteria that council needs to consider. The first one deals with conformity with all requirements of the zone bylaw. So while this proposed R2 zone is in an existing R1 neighborhood, it is about an existing larger R2 zone, so it isn't a spot zone, as some people may potentially think it is. This proposal represents natural expansion of zoning and residential development growth within the community. And essentially, any future development of the subject lands will need to complete a separate development permit process. And yeah, in accordance with the zoning bylaw. So under planning law, there is actually no ability to conditionally zone a property. So you can't say we're only going to make this property R2 provided you do certain uses. So any application must look at the zone and its permitted uses as a whole and decide on the compatibility of that zone with the area. So another consideration deals with conformity with the official plan. So under the section 4.2 of the official plan, Stratford is a community where housing is responsive to the needs of population. So a goal of the town is the identification of opportunities for zoning residential land to allow for smaller lot sizes and higher densities without compromising the character of existing neighborhoods. So this proposed amendment is an opportunity for higher density within an existing neighborhood. And then through proper site planning, you can actually mitigate and fit any future development into a neighborhood. So the argument can be made that the potential introduction of higher density dwelling buildings can be seen as out of character with the neighborhood. So the Swallow Nightingale neighborhood is predominantly a low-density area and is made up of smaller one-story single-family dwellings. And additionally, these impacts may impact Additionally, these developments may impact lifestyle in the area due to increased traffic and noise and so forth. In theory, any development, even if it's a single-family house, can disrupt the neighborhood. So it's so a question that needs to be addressed with any rezoning request is how different is the proposed zoning from the lands that could be developed under the current zone. So planning did a quick table, which is, can you open up minutes from our meeting? It's a, and scroll down. I'll tell you when to stop. You'll see a table. Okay, right there. So we did do a quick table on the type of uses that can occur, residential uses within the current R1 zone and the proposed R2 zone. So in terms of single detached dwellings, currently in the R1 you can get about 6 units with some tweaking across the 4 lots. So assuming you make the 4 lots in 6. With duplexes, you're talking 6 lots, 12 units. Under the R2 zone, the proposed medium density zone, the number of duplexes actually drops a little bit. It drops down to 8 due to a size requirement, minimum lot size requirement. Townhouses bump up to 12, and then stacks are up to 24. So the density, potential density of the R2 it's a little higher. If you're into the stacked townhouse formations, it's almost double. The townhouses are about the same as duplexes. Essentially, you'd get 4 townhouse buildings of 3 units each. And that would be permitted as a rate through there. The 5th lot runs north-south, and essentially that's an access. You can't build on it. So other considerations that need to be taken into account is the suitability of the site for the preservation of existing site features. So the developer has indicated that during the site plan and site design that a healthy tree buffer can be maintained, or it will be maintained through there. And that'd be something we could ensure at the development stage. So the other considerations deal with compatibility of the proposed development on the surrounding land uses. So these lots in particular are in between a medium density on the west side and low density on the east side. There is also a public park going into the area, so there is some potential impacts with development, but with proper site planning, again, you can fit into the neighborhood. The big section, there are actually quite a few comments raised by residents, and there were like general concerns to do with traffic and parking, which the province has already provided comments on. They have no issues with proposed traffic generated. It's their roads, so they're in charge of that. We rely on their expertise on that matter. Property devaluation. It's a concern that higher densities often drop or perceived to drop property values. In terms of property values, the value of a higher density property is just one factor out of, I believe it's 13 or 14 various factors when developing property values. In terms of lack of future development, or the knowledge of future development, as earlier, you can't actually conditionally zone a property. You can't say you're limited to certain uses. The scale of the neighborhood and density. So again, any future development has to fit the zoning at the time. And with proper site planning, you can put a higher density building into an area and doesn't look out of character if it's designed properly. And then there are other considerations which that deal with infrastructure, water and sewer in the area, like stormwater, impacts on modes of transportation. So essentially, in terms of the transportation side, the development of these lands will ultimately connect Swallow. So Swallow Drive currently stops with it's immediately west of the site. So essentially the Stack Townhouse development is doing 60 feet of road, and there's a 30-foot gap. So the future development of this land will connect Swallow. The province has stated essentially in order for development to occur, they have to connect Swallow. So, and then, I'm trying to think if there's anything more. I think that's a quick summary of the presentation. The rest of the information was in the report in your package. So.
Thank you, Mr. Ruff.
So, Mr. Ruff, I have a few questions. So, just so I understand, I believe this to be the case. So, the homes that are fronting upon Nightingale Drive, being 16 to 21 Nightingale, I understand all of those are single-family homes?
So there are, I believe, 3. So along Nightingale and Swallow, I believe there's 2 semis.
Okay.
2 side-by-sides, and then on Swallow, there's 1, 2 on the Swallow side.
Okay. Now, I can't remember, and I won't hold you to it if you can't remember. When council considered the rezoning in 2023, which was, at the time was to the PURD zone, was stacked semi-detached or stacked townhomes implemented into the R2 zone in the bylaw at that point in time?
So it was in process of being added.
Right, but it
So,
wasn't
no.
an option at that point.
While it was an option, they were running concurrent. So at the time, the request was actually, the request for stacked townhouses was initially triggered by this rezoning. So we had to keep them separate because they're separate processes.
Okay.
So it was essentially that use was being considered into the zone bylaw at that time. So
It was being considered as a special permitted use.
as a special permit use.
Because council wanted to have the option of making a decision on that.
Yes, within the medium density zone, in a couple of the other zones, there's a couple of zones where it's permitted as a right, but those, like in the R3 zone, it's permitted as a right, which is high density zone. But it was a separate zoning bylaw amendment.
Okay. All right, thank you. Those are my questions. Yeah, I don't know if my
Okay.
colleagues have any.
I just have a couple of questions, if I could. The special permitted use going from 12 to 24 for R2, that's a council vote, right?
So in terms of the zone itself, the R2 zone allows townhouse units of three units wide, permitted as a right on lot. Anything more, it becomes either conditional or special permit, depending on the number of lots it takes up in the area. So if it's under the 40% of lots in a block, which in
I'm
this
just
case
going by the
would
table
be,
you put up.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
In this case, it would be conditional use at that point. It won't hit a special permit use.
Oh, I thought it was special permitted
No,
use.
special permit use is if it's taken up 100% of the lots in the block.
Okay,
So
would you
in
briefly
theory-
describe the conditional use process?
Yes, so conditional use process, there is public notification to abutting property owners, and then it comes to council for decision. So there's no public meeting component.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Special permit has that public meeting component.
Okay, thank you. So under special permitted use, how many units would be allowed?
24.
It'd be same number. So this-
24
yeah.
under conditional, 24 under special permitted use?
Yes, but it doesn't fall in on the special permit use because the special permit use only kicks in is if they're trying to do, let's say a request came in, put stacked townhouses on the entire block of Nightingale.
Okay, that was
So
the same
essentially,
information
when
we got
you're
at planning
over that
committee.
100,
That's not what I understood anyway. Okay, anyway, thank you.
Yeah. yes, yeah.
Okay.
Conditional uses require a council decision, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, discussion.
I got something to add there. Even though I second this, it's not by any means, so I fully agree with it. Like, I think we talked about this and a fair bit as a council about the, especially the edges of different sections of community that we have. And I think the edges are very important, and we're looking to put a stackable townhouses really where R1 is, and this is the edge of that section. To me, I think we need to really look at protecting the edges. They're very important. The reason by the way, I second this was I want a further discussion here, and I think we need to have our discussion with this. It's a first reading. We need to do that. We need to get to this point. But I fully believe that we need to protect these edges, and I think that for the residents, there's a lot of confusion in what's been stated as far as R2, what does it allow, what doesn't allow. And I read through the meeting, from the minutes from September 22nd, and a lot of people that spoke mentioned that there was a lot of confusion within their area, just because of what does R2 imply, and if you have R2, can you have R3? What the council's saying, we need to move up to R3 now. Like, it's a pretty scary thing for individuals. So I just wanted to state that for me, I'm really like to look at the edges of these places and what goes beyond it, and how we get from this edge to the next part, and without being too intrusive to the people in the area? Is it totally necessary in this area to interrupt the edges with something that may not fit into that section? So I just want to state that.
Okay. All right, maybe we'll go around the table. Is that, do you want to say something first?
I'll have the last word, if that's okay. Maybe start counting down.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I'm speaking in opposition to this resolution. I appreciate the well-considered input and discussions that we had at committee by the various committee members. However, I did disagree at committee and voted against the notion of providing a recommendation to council for approval. And I did so for several reasons, and I'm just going to list them off, Your Worship. It won't cover all of my points of concern, but in the interest of brevity, it'd be sufficient to explain my opposition in general. This proposal does not fit with the character of the well-established neighborhood that is now R1. Bordering on an R2 does not negate the impact on the existing R1, which is clearly delineated in its own right. Changing zoning within a portion of an established zone is, in my view, the very definition of spot zoning. The proposed zoning change does not represent a transition between existing zones, but rather an imposition of one onto another. If approved, the developer is at liberty to make an application to further increase density beyond that which would be allowed under the R2, with potential for 2 12-unit buildings if the 4 lots are consolidated into 2 lots. And it is the conditional use application that raises significant concern here. Because as of right, yes, the developer would have the capability of doing 4 3-unit buildings under an R2. But we see in so many instances where a developer, for logical reasons, wants to maximize their investment by increasing density beyond that which is allowed as a matter of right. So then you're left looking at adjacent to and across the street from largely R1 single-family homes, with albeit a few duplexes within that neighborhood, 2 stacked townhouse units comprising 12 units each for a total of 24 units. And that's not a transition, that's an imposition. The residents affected have been very clear in their opposition, ones that were directly affected by this particular application. And additionally, over the last number of weeks, through the official plan draft review, we've heard from a great many residents from essentially across the town opposing or speaking largely against the notion of further densifying R1 zones. The impression I got clearly from comments and people I've spoken to and emails I've read and comments I've heard were that people do value the R1 components. And as Councillor MacDonald had stated earlier, R1 continues to be the leader in individual development, which speaks to the demand for R1 within the community as well. Yes, we have demand for multi-unit buildings as well, and we have capacity, and I think with our official plan review, when we end up with a final product, we'll find that there are areas within the town that can be developed from a more densely densified applications. without imposing upon the R1 zones or even the R2 zones for that matter unduly. And for those reasons, I will vote against this resolution. And like I say, there's other points. I mean, I could speak to traffic issues. Yes, the province will say the road can handle the traffic, but traffic still has an impact on the character of the neighborhood when you have so many other units that are now utilizing a road that was largely single family with the occasional duplex. You know, that increase in traffic affects the character, and there's other applications that we can't necessarily consider as far as rationale for refusal or denial of a particular application, including when it comes to applications for increased densification through conditional or special permit use. And, you know, it's been my experience that they're almost and always approved, because it's very difficult to not approve them. So it's that conditional use that's the hidden element here. And as staff had pointed out, it's not something we can set up front to say, yes, we'll approve the zoning change on these lots, but you can only build up to this. That's not the case. You know, they certainly can make application, and we don't know because there's no development proposal underway and what the developer is going to propose. But we have to look at what would be the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario from the residents' perspective, other than the spot zoning component, would be two 12-unit buildings within their single-family homes neighborhood. So that's all I have to say on it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor. You've already spoken? Okay. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to echo the words that Councillor Dowling had. Not as well, but I'll echo them. So I'm not in favor, and I'm going to cite my reasons here. In the 3.2.2E, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses. Sorry. The character. One sec. Sorry. It's not working. I'm good. There we go. Okay, so that one, character. I agree. Struggle with the one next door to it. I've been in that area every day, so if anyone sees a gray Pathfinder and thinks it's somewhat creepy, I want to make a right decision here. I've been in that area probably every day the last 2 weeks, just looking around. I don't think this development fits in that area for a number of reasons, and I think Councillor Dowling's mentioned most of them. 3.2.2F, any comments from residents or other interested persons, very clear from those residents in the area. They were had some very good reasons as to why this, you know, in their eyes, and I'm a resident as well from the other side of town, but I understand where they're coming from, and I agree with them on this. 3.2.2M, other matters as considered relevant by council. I have a couple of them here. One of them is the definition of block in our bylaw, and I think it's evident by our public meetings that we can't clearly answer what that means, because the definition is, I think, problematic, and I hope we do address it, or hope it's not even in the next draft. So block means any unit of land consisting of a grouping of lots bounded on all sides by watercourses, streets, or large parcel boundaries, or is otherwise defined by the town. So the otherwise defined by the town is the part I struggle with, because we can potentially interpret that in many different ways. And I think, and it's in fairness to Mr. Ruff and any of the folks who have been trying to answer what a block is here, until we have some certainty on that, I don't know how we convey to folks what is actually possible in those areas. So that's one, that one really irritates me, and I hope we deal with that. The second is, I think it's more problematic. It's the presumptive nature of the R1 to RM2 in the the new plan. I'm not sure, we've, and I'm speaking from my own experience here, we've voted down a rezoning here before. We had one before us. Why that's still in there, I have no idea, and it's frustrating, kind of insulting in a way. We've dealt with this before, we're dealing with it tonight. I think reading the room, it's going to be dealt with, so that has to come out of there. There's so many of these changes that we've voted down in the past, and this is a rant on the planning, on our other stuff, which is still related to this, because this brings it in. We're presuming we're gonna change these. So with that, I found that frustrating, looking at that, presuming we were gonna make that decision, or even just stirring up residents to make them think that that's a done deal already. And that's a failing on the draft of the plan among many. So I'm voting against this, and we gotta protect those edges. I know my last vote a month ago introduced another dwelling type in that area, but this one's just too much.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Just looking at the definition of a character neighborhood, refers to a distinct combination of physical and social elements that give a neighborhood its unique look and feel. These elements include physical design, such as building forms, materials, street patterns, as well as social aspects like land use, cultural resources, and community activities. Understanding and preserving neighborhood character is important for urban planning and maintaining a sense of place and identity. Physical elements are building design, streetscape, materials, and so on, landscaping. What I've heard over the last couple of weeks of the meetings with this draft plan is the character of the neighborhood, the character of the town of Stratford. I come over here 25 years ago and from another community, and I really got the vibe of the character of a neighborhood, how people are proud of their neighborhood. And these neighborhoods are built as strong neighborhoods. Neighbors know neighbors. Everybody's helping everybody. It's calm, cool, and everything else. And we're looking at cherry picking these neighborhoods, picking at them, because we're looking for density. Now, if he wanted to go in there, he can put, the builder can go in there with an R1 and R2. He can put a secondary dwelling in the basement. We wouldn't say nothing. He could probably put 5 or 6 people in there. But more homes, more townhouses, or a townhouse is as high as a stacked townhouse. And protecting these neighborhoods. So we have to, council's got to sit around, all the councilors got to think character of the neighborhood is very, very important. Councilor McDonald just said a couple of minutes before we released the stats for the planning, everybody's building R1s. And the R1s are still building, and now the new plan, we're condensing R1, so make it smaller, so but still an R1. But I'm totally, it's just it's the neighborhood's well established R1. You're going to try to put something else in there, and the road doesn't connect. Be more traffic. If you're trying to put more buildings there, public safety, more children, more garbage and so on. There's just more traffic, and with roads not connecting, and they're definitely on the character of the neighborhood. And what I want to say is, Red Meadows, we went at this, I was against Red Meadows, and eventually it built, 6 times we went at it. This is probably 3rd or 4th time. And the residents it's stressed, very stressed out, and because they want to keep their neighborhood. I want to keep my neighborhood. You want to keep your neighborhood. You want to keep your neighborhood. We have density. We have density downtown core. We have density in the waterfront. We have density in different areas. With the numbers now, we're looking at density. There's a cap on immigration. The word density, but we got to have respect for our neighbors. You got to have respect because, that's where everybody starts from. That's where you build. And I know the young people had a hard time and so on, but we all did it. It's hard to get my first home. We all did it. We worked. I know it's hard times out there. We all did it, but we got to respect the neighborhoods. And I'll tell you, I'll fight tooth and nail for the residents of our Stratford, because that's all I heard the meetings, and sat proud. Why are you tearing this place up? Like, why are you picking away at this? Why is somebody outside telling you what to do? But I know the density, big bird's density. Well, we got the downtown core, 12 stories, 10 stories, 8 stories, the Grey Group. We got them over there on McKinnon Drive, 4 stories. We got the waterfront, the 5,000 units. And we're going to go and pick away at these neighbors, the neighborhood down here, our neighborhood in Swallow and so on. It's, you know, and then the Stack Townhouse, and I never voted for last week, the last council meeting, Stack, it's 75 feet away from Mr. McDonald's house, 75 meters. We're like, and then the gentleman moved from one neighborhood to go to another neighborhood to downsize, and we throw this bill in front of him. I don't know. But anyways, I'm just saying that we got to go through the process. We're a great council. We respect each other. And, you know, we just, so when, you know, my reasons are 17.16-2, D, F, and G there on our bylaw and so on. And I just want to, keep, hopefully, end this meeting tonight with, keep the character of Stratford. If you saw it yesterday, Remembrance Day, you saw the character there. The place was packed. And I tell you, people have a lot of pride. So that's it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'm wondering if we could pull up a satellite view, because I think it's a little more illustrative of the Swallow Nightingale area. And I wonder if we could zoom in perhaps a little bit on the actual subject lands in question, and maybe just zoom in perhaps a little bit if we could. Out, please. Yeah, okay. This is a little out of date, but here's, I'm going to go through a few things here. I've listened to my fellow councillors with certainly with interest and with respect, and there's a few things that I'm going to agree with and a few things that I will disagree with. Certainly, I appreciate Councillor Cox bringing up the notion of the edges of zones. I think that is a very important aspect of planning, and I think that reflects sound planning principles, is to pay attention to those borders of zones, and I think it's appropriate that he brings it up. I certainly appreciate always my Vice Chair of Planning's perspective on things. Certainly, he's consistent with his approach, and I take no issue with his approach, though we are probably more often than not in respectful disagreement on a number of those points. I can still say that on this one, for reasons that I'll get into here in a little bit, I'm more inclined to accept what Councillor Dowling is saying here today. And really, what I would say about some of the other comments of the councillors, look, with the greatest of respect, Councillor Jackson, I don't believe that our official plan review has been a failure. I'll respectfully disagree with that. Just because we've received feedback that might not be overwhelmingly positive does not indicate that it was a failure. We've had extensive public engagement on this matter that's gone on for quite some time. The plan that has gone out has been a reflection of a lot of effort from our planning staff. It's a reflection of a lot of effort on the behalf of our hired consultants, and that's incorporated based upon what they have heard. So I don't think it's a failure, and it's not over, okay? And so I think for those people who feel, and I've heard it, you know, in a lot of correspondence, and I've heard it in a lot of comments, that there are, this is some form of a top-down approach where people are being dictated to, and how the town of Stratford or masters elsewhere are pulling strings to get to some dystopic nightmare of, you know, 80-story mega blocks on every corner. That's respectfully not true. It's respectfully never going to be true of Stratford. One thing that has become abundantly clear to me upon going through this official plan review process, though not specifically germane to this application, but tangentially to that, is that overwhelmingly, is that for many of our residents, Stratford was a choice, and it was a very clear choice, and it was a very clear choice because of the quality and way of life that Stratford presented to people. And that's certainly something that we do respect, and that's borne out in our official plan now, specifically, I think, with respect to our references repeatedly to the character of neighborhoods. And so certainly, I think it's not a mistake that you've heard that from each and every councillor here tonight, I think. Now, with respect to developers in the town. Certainly, I will reject any notion that developers are a greedy lot just out to make a buck. They are valuable partners. You don't want a situation where governments are the ones building the homes. We would do a particularly poor job, and we would be very expensive in doing so, and probably quite slow to deliver. What this council and what this municipality should and will do, and usually does do, I would say, is create a very clear expectation on developers as to where they can develop and why. But the law dictates that we must have flexibility in our zoning and development bylaws to consider applications such as this. And this one is somewhat unique. As everybody here is aware, we have seen this one before. We have seen it in 2023 as a result of a different zoning. Something has changed, though, that stacked semi-detached or stacked townhomes are now a feature of the R2 zone. So despite the overall request for rezoning, the request is still for a proposed 24-unit stacked townhouse development in this area. And this satellite map is unfortunately somewhat out of date. My updated version here shows very much a tale of two neighborhoods. You will see, if you were to see a more completed version of this development as it exists much closer to the present day, you'll note to the west of the subject lands a much more missing middle or mid-density neighborhood where a number of those developed residents are now duplexes, triplexes, things of that nature. And to the east of that, in Nightingale, Swallow, the vast majority are single-family homes. And for one historical reason or another, two distinct and separate neighborhoods have emerged. And I think that's because of the fact that Swallow has never been connected, and it escapes me as to why that might be, but that being the case, two separate neighborhoods have emerged. And at this point in time, it can be very clearly stated that two separate characters have emerged. The newer developments to the west of a more dense form, and the older developments to the east of a less dense form. And this really, I mean, if I was to design a planning exercise for a university class, this might be actually it, because you do have quite a bit here that's in tension. You have quite a bit here that speaks to competing interests, competing values, and certainly there can be no doubt competing characters. And what's interesting is that this does sit very much on that border, as Councillor Cox has noted, between this R2 and R1 zone. And so there's considerations for and there's considerations against this proposed rezoning. And certainly, I think the two most salient aspects of this are the character of the neighborhood as it exists abutting on Nightingale Drive, as well as the views of the residents who have spoken out in opposition. Now, I will caution residents that loud voices do not equal more persuasive voices, and more, I guess, coarse language does not in any way, shape, or form persuade objective members of council. Though discussions about choosing Stratford, why they chose Stratford, about the character of their neighborhood, their way of life, those are absolutely persuasive, and those will always be paid attention to by councillors. And so ultimately for myself, despite the fact that I am of a view that our official plan does encourage development, there can be no doubt, and there is a requirement for more development in this town, and there is a requirement of this council and every councillor in Prince Edward Island to responsibly manage the affairs of this municipality to ensure the continued growth and prosperity of each and every municipality. There can be no doubt that predominantly the character of the neighborhood of Nightingale Drive, I'm going to call it, because that's where this land will abut upon, ought to prevail here. And so it's for that reason that in this particular instance, with this specific subject parcel, in these specific characteristics of this neighborhood, and we really do have a tale of two very distinct and different neighborhoods here, I am not in a position where I believe I can support this potential rezoning here this evening, even on a first reading.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to say a few words. Do you want to rebuttal, Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, if I can, and maybe I'll double down on what I said. I didn't say failure, but this isn't really relevant to this, but it is in a way. So just give me a second. Oxford Dictionary, failure, omission of expected or required action. We didn't ask, with the plan, we didn't ask landowners about their plans to develop. One major landowner has been in this community since the 1800s. We have another who's a former mayor that's in the room tonight, wasn't asked about his property. It's 2023, so our 2003, don't huff and puff, 2003-24, 3 landowners in St. Catharines area were not asked what their plan was. They were to be rezoned on a whim of, I shouldn't say a whim, based on a decision by someone other than them. So if we haven't learned from that, and we omitted to do what was expected, I know it was an eye-opener for most of us. We were able to attend a meeting with residents last 2 weeks ago. They weren't asked. That's a failing. I said failing. There were more than one, but that would meet the definition of failure.
Thank you. Rebuttal?
I disagree for the reasons I already set out. It's not finished. I mean, judges at the end, not where we're at.
No, but the process is.
I just want to, are you finished? Okay, I just want to say one word about that, and that is that we did consult with consultants. We asked them to develop a plan based on the best use of the land. We had a council meeting, and we gave them direction. We had a number of processes, and the landowners did have an opportunity. The process worked the way it's supposed to work. We sent out the draft and asked for their input based on what the consultants and council or staff had said, planning staff had said was the best use of the land from a planning perspective, and now the landowners have their opportunity to input. In retrospect, it would have been a good thing to do, to go back, and we learned that, and I think this is part of the learning process that we're all new at this. This is the first time this council has dealt with the official plan, so we are learning, but the process worked the way it is designed. That's not to say it can't be improved, and we should look at improving it for our new official plan. It's a good point. I just want to say a few words about this development. I also have some issues with it. There is a balance between what we need in the town in terms of missing middle and that sort of thing. But in terms of one of the inputs we received was around conditional use and around special permitted use, and how these really need to be looked at seriously, because residents need certainty in terms of, they'll never have complete certainty because the town changes and evolves over the years. It becomes what used to be an urban or a rural area, as everybody probably where their house is now used to be a rural or wooded area, and now it's there's homes, and as homes in the last few years, you notice the lots have gotten smaller, houses have gotten closer together. When you knock on those doors and talk to the people, they're very happy. They like their homes. They like those designs. And same thing with the townhouses, the same thing with the rentals. People are good people, nice families live in them. And in terms of special, people raised the point about not taking care of rental accommodation and that sort of thing. We've had more unsightly premises complaints about single-family homes than we have about duplexes. I only recall 2 unsightly properties for duplexes or homes like that. There was a problem in a subdivision with parking. We resolved that. So there is everybody's equal in this town. We can whether you have $1 million house or a $100,000 house, you're the same. You get a vote and you have the same voice. But in terms of this certainty, this special permitted use would double the number of units, or conditional use would double the number of units. And the point about good planning principles, looking after the edges, is really well made. The fact that we put like housing next to like housing. The last time this council approved an increase in density in that area, we were adding 3 units, and it really doesn't, instead of 5 units, we added 8 units. So I don't think that really has an impact on people's quality of life, the same size of the building. It could be the same size as a single-family dwelling, 44 feet by 36 feet high. So a single-family dwelling can be that high as can a townhouse or a three-unit townhouse. So I don't think that's an issue in terms of quality of life. In terms of 3 extra families living there in an area like that, I don't think it makes a difference. In this case, doubling the number of units will make a difference, and I think that this is something that really needs to be considered. And the other issue is, I think it's premature. The official plan and zoning and development bylaws being looked at, and especially in this area. And this is one of the areas that we want to look closely at. So for that reason, I think this council is taking a very, very good and defensible approach on this issue. So with that, is there any other comments or questions before I call the vote? Okay, all those in favor? All those against? Motion denied. Thank you. All right, next item. Yeah. Motion defeated, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next resolution, Councillor.
Now for the main event. Number PH 0572025, A001-25, Town of Stratford, Zoning Development Bylaw Amendment, Bylaw 45S, Non-Combustible Fire Separations. First reading. This is moved by myself as Chair, Planning and Heritage. This has been before us before, though due to some reasons it had to come back. So whereas planning staff are proposing a housekeeping text amendment to the zoning development bylaw to reduce confusion in the industry caused by referring to the vertical fire separation required for semi-detached and townhouse dwellings as a firewall. And whereas proposed text amendments will not change building permit requirements or the ability to subdivide attached dwellings from what has been required since the town first adopted the National Building Code of Canada in 2011. Whereas in accordance with Section 3.2.3 of the zoning development bylaw, notice of the amendments in public meeting occurred through the placement of an advertisement in the local Guardian newspaper on 2 separate editions, September 19th and 27th, 2025. Notice of the public meeting was posted on the town's Facebook and YouTube page. Whereas a public meeting was held on September 27th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the town center, was live streamed on town's Facebook and YouTube sites. No questions or comments were received at the meeting, and no written comments were received by the deadline of October 3rd, 2025. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45S, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, be hereby read and approved a first time. And furthermore, be it resolved that upon direction from the Minister of Housing, Lands and Communities, due to an error in public notice for this proposed amendment, when it was originally considered by Council in April and May of 2025, the following 3 resolutions for the original readings of bylaw number 45S, PH 012, PH 015, and PH 016, 2025 be rescinded. This resolution does bear the recommendation of Planning and Development and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on November 3rd, 2025.
Seconder?
I'll second, Steve.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, discussion. Any discussion?
No, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, thank you for your report, Councillor. Okay, infrastructure, Deputy Mayor, could I have your report?
Well, I'll start it out here. Thank you, Your Worship. The Infrastructure Department remains busy in all aspects of the inside and outside work. Staff been busy, been coordinating with consultants who have begun design work for Ducks Landing, multi-use pathway project, and Harborview Drive sewer redirections project. Construction for each of these will take place on the spring of 2026. The tender closed on October 15th for the sewer lift station standby generators project with 3 bids received. The resolution will be presented this evening to request awarding of the contract to the low bidder. Construction of the Myrtle Street extension is near complete, with paving to be done in the coming days. Work is expected to begin on the sewer main rehabilitation on Heron Drive later this month. Staff have been coordinating with the contractor engaged to complete this work. Infrastructure staff have also been busy with the following: building and properties maintenance repairs are ongoing. Preparations for mounting and poppy drapes was over. Inspecting and repairing Christmas decorations. Managing the sump pump disconnection program. There are currently 30 projects completed and 19 underway for a total of 49 participants in the rebate program to date, which is nice to see. Bylaw inspection and a follow-up is ongoing. Applying for funding applications for water and sewer upgrades, as well as adding crosswalks throughout the town. creating an issue in an RFP for the waterfront pavilion center, which is nice to see too. Sanitary, sewer, gravity flushing, and hydrant flushing continues. Flushing or customer laterals identified for annual maintenance is underway with approximately 75% completed. Water and sewer inspections, meter installations, and water turn-ons for new development are ongoing inspection and maintenance for water and sewer system facilities. Managing ongoing customer resident inquiries and concerns. During the month of October, there was no sewer or water-related emergency. There was a leak on a water service on Alward Drive that was repaired by the utility, and a sewer lateral blockage to a property on Myrtle Street that was jetted by the utility. And that's my report for October, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on Deputy Mayor's report? I'm sorry, I think Councillor Jackson. Okay,
Councillor
go
Downell,
ahead.
you go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mine's just a comment, just to say how I do appreciate that the work is ongoing for the sewer lift standby generators project. I know Councillor McDonald had brought that up in the priority setting a few years ago, or a couple of years ago, and it's good to see that we're making headway there. They're very important to have in extreme weather or storm situations. So it's forward thinking.
Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, just to stay on this unpopular front. So the question, I guess, for Jeannie, the sewer connection in Charlottetown, we're 5 years, 6 years in now. I had a lot of questions from residents around, our growth projections, and I know they're working on upgrading, I guess, the sewer system in some needed areas in Charlottetown, but has anyone discussed with Charlottetown our projections and whether that is going to end up with a massive change in costs going forward if we are to essentially double or triple our population here?
So as you're probably all aware, we do have a contract with Charlottetown for our sewer treatment, and it's an ongoing contract that gets looked at, I think, every 5 years. And within that, we are bound to communicate back and forth to what our requirements are, what their requirements are. We're committed to contributing to any upgrades that they may be required to take on, of course, with some notification and planning with us involved, but also for us to let them know of any larger projects and any impacts. Our station has been designed and installed to handle growth for us into the future. So what we have in there and the capacity of that is what they're aware of now. So when we're foreseeing needs to expand on that, they would absolutely be involved with those discussions for sure.
Okay, thanks, Jeannie. And it's my understanding they would probably have the ultimate say if we wanted to expand drastically and they didn't have the capacity.
I think that's covered in the planning document that was done for the official plan, the
Yeah,
Stantec
I think it's an
report.
important consideration, though, that I have heard from a number of folks, that's all.
Yeah, I think the Stantec report, they did some analysis and research into that. It's important to remember, I think, that we're a customer of Charlottetown, and we negotiate as customers do. So that's basically, I know that we pay a 15% premium on top of what the actual operational costs are. So that's probably one thing we can look at in the future, something if we can somehow look at that. But right now, I think, Jeannie, it's a fairly satisfactory arrangement.
Yeah, absolutely. And we haven't heard of any of their upgrades or upcoming projects to date. So
It would be nice to have a longer lifespan for the certainty, for the price. I think we've got a 5-year, and now it's gone down to 1 year certainty, eh?
correct. We're currently in the process of renewing that contract, the agreement. For the, what do we call this? Yeah, go ahead.
The contract's for 20 years. This is just our pricing was done for 5 years, and we are in our 6th year based on cost of living. The negotiations will probably come up on that, but the actual contract with regard to our sewer being transported to Charlottetown is for 20 years.
And it's sustainable? It's sustainable into the future?
I would think so. There is going to be a time where we're going to have to contribute towards upgrades, but they're to come back and negotiate with us and discuss those upgrades before they do happen. And the same as with us, if there's upgrades required, we would have to go to them and have that discussion. Same as we would with any plant that we have.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor? Okay, any other comments or questions on the infrastructure report?
I
Councillor
just have
Councillor
a
McDonald.
comment. Now, I want to say that I am very encouraged to see that design work has started on the Ducks Landing multi-use pathway. But, you know, I was, Councillor Dowling jogged my memory about, you know, our priority setting exercise that occurred a couple of years ago now. And if you may all recall here at Council that during that priority setting exercise and afterwards, when it came time to ratify certain elements of that through some resolutions at Committee of the Whole, the Rosebank Road multi-use pathway had been the preferred project of Council, and that had been conducted according to a resolution that had gone to a vote. And despite that, we have seen multi-use pathways going in at Glen Stewart, which is certainly welcome. Ducks Landing, certainly welcome. But Rosebank has been once again left behind, and certainly that is something that is of great concern to a vast majority of the residents in Ward 2 who still have an active transportation desert that goes to the west of the Kepik Road. And we can't meaningfully engage with a large amount of our population who have the only way to access town amenities and anywhere else in the town is if either you take your own 2 feet or you take a car. And I think that's respectfully at this point in time getting unacceptable, because it's been a number of years where we're not seeing that. So I am going to again advocate for us to engage with our funding partners to try and make a better and a more convincing case for active transportation up, whether it's Rosebank or Langley, or what makes the most sense from an engineering perspective, but something for those residents in that area.
I'm just going to add, just as a reminder, we had applied for that project and we had it as our first priority for the town. Unfortunately, we don't, we're not at that table where the decision is made as to what project gets selected. And Ducks Landing did come out as a higher priority in those eyes. So we could certainly discuss moving that forward again in the next budget year and having that as a priority.
I think it's important.
Yeah, and thank you. That's the request, really.
I think it's very important to understand the process, for people to understand the process as well, that we set our priorities as a council, and the ultimate decision is made by the provincial government in terms of what they will fund, based on their analysis of different factors. I know Glen Stewart was safety. Ducks Landing was number of population, I think. I don't know what the criteria was there, but and it hadn't been 16 years or whatever since it was first requested or whatever. So anyway, those are the sorts of things that we don't have control over, but we do continue to advocate with our provincial representatives, and I would encourage everyone to continue to do that, to advocate with our provincial authorities, not only at the political level, but also at the administrative level, because that's ultimately where the decisions and where the recommendations are made based on their analysis. So it would be nice to be at the table, but we're not.
I just wanted to point out one more thing, is that the Glen Stewart Drive project was actually in last year's budget year. So it wasn't competing with that Rosebank and Ducks Landing area. Those were the current year applications.
So this year it was bumped by Ducks Landing, I guess.
Rosebank, yes, good.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could try to get back to that table, though, when we're having discussions with the province around some of these things. Like, that's, we put a lot of thought and effort into these things, and we go out and hear from folks on what's priorities, and we know just what Councillor McDonald's saying about kind of the desert out there with transit and access on that area. Like, we should be lobbying through FPIM or somebody to wrestle back some of that, at least get a seat at the table to make our case. It seems like it's nothing against the project to get approved, but I mean, we've seen our priorities kind of not accepted a few times, and it's been frustrating. I echo Councillor McDonald, and I know Councillor Chandler, and for me, and an old rep for Ward 2, I think it's important we get that done.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you,
Yeah.
Councillor.
I do, Your Worship, just in relation to, priorities. Yes, there are going to be occasions where priorities shift, and that's why I'd like to see us get together as a council heading into our final year to confirm our priorities and
Noted, yeah.
have those shifts on the shoulders of council rather than other factors. But one key consideration when you talk about densification or heavy densification, an outfall of that or a byproduct of that is, of course, a larger concentration of people within a smaller area, and that brings about a lot more traffic, and that brings about a lot more pedestrian action. So, part of what we have to look at in the official plan as we look at areas where we can densify, just as we have to look at service connectivity for areas that we could include within the fold for planned densification. Because we can't just say this area we're going to put in and allow it to be R3, build what you want, as high as you want, as much as you want, if we don't have the connectivity. Part of that connectivity, of course, is pedestrian pathways and active transportation trails and such. We're not in a position where we can put a sidewalk on every street, but we can strategically continue to enhance our inventory of active transportation trails, which I think the staff have done an excellent job in sourcing funds and implementing plans for that throughout the town. But it's Councillor McDonald brings up a good point. When you talk about wants, we also have to factor what is in the best interest for the majority of people in certain areas as well. And we did as a town some time ago make a choice to heavily densify the Ducks Landing area. So I'm very glad that the decision was made to get the pedestrians off the street in that area as best we can and into a safer area, because you still have all kinds of people, young and old, families, and out with strollers and kids biking and that sort of thing. So, like everyone else, I'd love to see us put a sufficient trail system or pathway system or sidewalk system all throughout the town, and we have to plan for it and continue to plan for it, but it has to be done in a strategic way. Just as we look at our lift station generator upgrades, not every lift station is getting a generator at this time. There's been areas that staff have prioritized over others, and to some degree we have to trust that process, but by the same token, we have to shoulder the responsibility in our decision making by reviewing those priorities, and perhaps we should be doing that every year. I don't know.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, any other comments or questions on the infrastructure report? If not, I believe you've got a couple other items here, Deputy Mayor.
Just on approved minutes, we had the minutes there in October, so just in our package. The third thing here is resolution, new resolution for the sewer lift station standby generators, number INC 008 2025, led by myself, whereas the 2025 utility capital budget includes $1 million excluding HST, with 40% being funded by the local dealership for climate adaptation fund for the provision of standby generators at 5 sewer lift stations in order to increase the resilience of the town's sewer collection system as an adaptation to climate change and so on. And whereas public tender was advertised and bids were received October 15, 2025, and 3 submissions as follows. The first one was contractor Ainsworth Incorporated, $617,914. The second one was Hanson Electric Limited, $538,000, and Hanson Solar Energy was $512,100. And whereas Hanson Solar Energy had submitted the lowest tender amount of $512,100, excluding HST, was found to be duly qualified and presented at a scheduled meeting the project requirements. And whereas the engineering fees for the project are estimated to be $158,000 excluding HST, for a total estimated project cost of $670,600 excluding HST. Being resolved, the sewer lift station standby generators project be awarded to Hanson Solar Energy in the amount of $512,100, HST excluded. Being it further resolved, the utility will negotiate with Hanson Solar Energy to increase the scope of the work with additional upgrades, including adding a generator to the 6 sewer lift station in order to fully capitalize on the funding amount. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Infrastructure Committee as determined via email poll conducted on October 23rd, between October 23rd and October 31st, 2025.
Thank you. Any seconder? Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Yeah, I think it's appropriate you do, Councillor. I think you've been a strong advocate for this, along with the Deputy Mayor. Congratulations on being able to bring this forward and get to this point.
Yep.
Any discussion?
No, I just say that Jeannie and Carter and so on, and everybody, in our committee, of Infrastructure Committee, put this around the table, and like you say, Carter come in there $100,000 from the first bid. Like, nice to see that, and it was great work, and still need it in case of any other storms that we perceive in the future.
Yeah. This gives us a lot more resilience as a
community
if we pass this.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried.
I was looking for your height.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and congratulations to both you and Councillor McDonald and everyone who worked on this, and to Council for moving forward with it. It was one of our priorities, so this is good to be able to give us that. And if we have another Fiona, or hopefully, God forbid, that doesn't happen, but if it does, we're in a much better position with these pumping stations able to be self-standing and able to, in spite of a power outage, they could still operate. Okay, Committee of the Whole, there's nothing to report for Committee of the Whole. Sustainability, I'll ask the Vice Chair of that report, Councillor Gordy Cox, to give the report, if you would. I should have asked you before, Gordy, I'm sorry. Just slipped my mind. Yeah, I should. I'll mention that Councillor Chandler was unable to attend tonight, so if you're good enough to take it, that's great. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, I got it. It's all good. First of all, I wish Jill was here, but hope she speed and recover there if she's not, feeling well. First of all, the splash pad planting, Kinloch Home Harbor Building Center, the town, the Tree Canada joining forces with Mrs. Good. Ms. Good, grade 5 class from Stratford Elementary School, to complete a community tree planting event at the Stratford Town Center splash pad. Jamie Lewis and his staff from both Stratford and Charlottetown Home Hardware locations provided funding, materials, and their own team's hard work to help in the planting of 16 mature trees around the splash pad area, was to create a future shade canopy for children, families, and anyone using the area. Thank you to all involved. And that is something we have talked about staff about future shade canopies. I think that's still a very important issue that we have to look forward to, in the future here in Stratford. Official plan and zoning and development bylaws. The Sustainability Committee members met for the special meeting to discuss the draft official plan and zoning and development bylaw by the town with the focus on environmental sustainability components of both documents. The committee members' comments, suggestions were discussed as a group. They were put together and provided to staff and the consultants at Upland Planning and Design. Aspects discussed include the tree planting, preservation, protection of environmental important areas, adaptation to climate change, development in coastal and inland flood areas, energy, among other issues. Stratford co-hosted an event on November 5th in the evening that was free and open to all residents about how to prepare homes and properties for climate change and extreme weather, with a focus on promoting the town's sub-pump redirection rebate program. The session saw other speakers from the City of Charlottetown, Holland College, Government of PEI, Scout Environmental, and the Home Builders Association. Councillor Jill Chandler and Wendy Watts from our staff will be selecting a date in the near future for our new year-end social to bring the business community into Stratford together. In the lead up to this, there will be a letter drafted with the hope that members of the council will be willing to go around to these businesses and advocate for the town and also advocate for them to get more involved in the town and in these events. This will delay the release of the annual business survey to allow us to include in the letter exactly what has to be stated and restated, and look forward to sparking some renewed interest in creation and reestablishment of a business group. So hopefully that'll be we'll get that out to councils fairly soon. I look forward to actually personally to going around to some of these businesses and meeting some of these business people that I haven't met yet. And I think it's a good connection for us councillors to do that. I know you're all looking at me like, yeah, like I need more steps. But anyway, I do think it's important to have that connection. The Diversity Inclusion Subcommittee held a meeting in October with some of the following highlights to report. Review and postmortem of the new resident community meetup. Overall message from the committee was to not panic after 1 year of lower numbers, and could be any number of things causing this, and to watch the trends of downward attendance, participation at other town events before adjusting too much. Update on the meeting town staff had with the Rainbow registered Canada's 2SL GBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce, and the town is now waiting on further information from them in the follow-up to explore potential new steps. Brief discussion and encouragement to committee members to participate in the official plan and zoning and development bylaw draft engagement, and we've talked about that. Further review of diversity inclusion plan, which will include ahead of the budget period, which will conclude ahead of the budget period, and may include a request from the committee to have funds made available to update the plan, which was last done in 2018, depending on the level of completion after the review. And right now, that is the report for sustainability.
Thank you. And just on the tree planting, I think that's the second time we've done that. Last time was a Vimy Oak, and this year was very successful. And I actually got to participate as well, and it was great to see the number of staff out. You know, especially the sustainability staff, Kadif and the two of them were there, and all the staff were there, and it was great to see the kids from Glen Stewart School, and they really enjoyed it, and the teachers really spoke highly of it. So it was a great thing to teach them about the environment, about sustainability, and the importance of planting trees. So.
If I can just mention one other thing also, I was disappointed in the federal government's budget where the $1 billion tree initiatives is taken off the budget, and so that to me was really surprising. And also recently there's reports that came in that were just tabled, reports, you may have watched this, CBC has covered this when it comes to about lobster grounds and the amount of plastics that have been found in especially in the tails of mature lobsters. Just shows you again about about us being very sustainable as humans on this planet, and in that pollution that gets into the ocean, it doesn't just go away. There's ramifications of all this, and so on land and in ocean, whatever, we have to be better stewards of this planet, and be it sustainability here in Stratford, sustainability in PEI, but I think we all do our part, and hopefully and teaching young people, like we were just talking about their part. And I think you can't start too young, teaching kids that to consistently maintain a role in what's important and proper to help keep our planet healthy. So,
thank you. Any other comments or questions on the sustainability report?
No, I just comment on the trees. There were 16 trees planted, and it was great to see that. I know I had my grandson up there a couple times this year at the splash pad, and how the sun and 30 degrees heat and so on. And then there's a couple things there that Jeremy, the construction's there for shade, and everybody else. It's a very popular area, so it's nice to see that for the future. And And I have another one, maybe Wendy can answer this. The further review of the diversity inclusion plan, which will include ahead of the budget. I'd like to see that we have that done and increase that budget. Is that what you're looking for there on the diversity inclusion? I know. Nice to see that happening.
Yeah, so that committee over the last few months has been going through the existing plan from 2018 and doing kind of an evaluation of what's complete in it, perhaps what's still relevant or not relevant anymore, and then what's left to be done. And once we finish that, we'll do an assessment, and then potentially, you know, a request to council as part of the budget for a little increase for a consultant again to go back and review that and update it again for us, like we did. Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. They'll be finishing that review at their December meeting, and we'll be part of the process.
More funds, what sort of things will we be doing?
Well, it would just be to create the next evolution of the report. So we had the original one when we signed on to CC MARD back in 2009, 2010. The original report was done. In 2018, we updated that report with the one that we have now, or the plan, I should say, and that gives staff and the committee a list of things to be trying to achieve. So to just be, if we feel like we've completed enough of the current report, which I would say, I'm thinking that's probably what it'll be, then we'll be coming back to say it's time to go back out to a consultant and have them update it again for us and come up with a new plan for the next, 8, 10 years, whatever, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Won't be a huge budget item, so, compared to some.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions on the sustainability report? If not, I guess you got a couple other items. Councillor Cox?
Sorry, the transit graph there is in everyone's report there. As you know, if you study through the report, we're working diligently through staff and trying to increase our infrastructure here. It's not perfect yet in Stratford. We do need transit is foremost on everyone's mind here, and we have to start totally looking at better routes, more buses, and engage with Mr. Casey as far as what are our demands, and not waiting for the owners of the transit system to tell us what we're getting next. I think there comes a point now where it's kind of turning, where we have to put forward what is expected here in Stratford and what's going to allow us to grow as a community, because it's that important. When we talk about neighborhoods with too many cars in the streets or too many cars in driveways, well, we have to have an answer, and part of the answer is our transit system. Yep. And I think if you look at the graphs, you can get whatever data you want, or you can look through it, but I think it just shows us that we're not there yet, and we still have to move the needle forward, and we got to find some better ways sooner than later.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, any other comments on the transit graph, or comments, or questions? If not, thanks for your report, Councillor. Next report is the Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability, and I'm the vice chair of that committee. Councillor Chandler is the chair. Basically, meeting was held October 2025, there was a discussion around the official plan and zoning and development bylaw, and about the engagement, especially because that's the focus of the committee, is engagement. And there was a lot of good discussion around that, and about the how we're going to approach the second drafts and that sort of thing. So that will be, as it was stated, as late November, early December. Now that date is, the second draft will be coming out December 3rd, before that, before a public meeting discussion on December 3rd. So hopefully the draft will be distributed to the public, both what we heard report and the new draft plan will be presented before and available to residents well before that official or public meeting. We just talked about the meetings that we held with Member of Parliament Kent MacDonald and the MLAs, We talked about the resident survey, about questions that are needed, and things that we wanted to follow up on, new things that are of interest to the committee members. And I think council has been asked to consider ideas and direct them to Wendy about things that we should be thinking about in terms of including in the survey. We also talked about the key performance indicators on the accountability side. They've now been updated with the latest data. And we talked about how to, they're now available on our website to any residents who would like to access them. So that information's available in terms of how we're performing against the key performance indicators, or objectives, I guess you might say, that have been set. And the other item is regard to an update on the Newtown website. Is it still November, Wendy, that we're looking at having that completed? Yeah. So, I beg your pardon?
Yeah, it's a tough month. We're busy with a lot of stuff, so I know there is a conflict there, unfortunately. But council are invited to a sneak peek next week.
Okay.
It should be in your calendar. Was sent out last week or the week before, and yeah, we're just working through some kind of final edits before we're ready to do that, and aiming for later this month to launch it. So.
Okay, that's great.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's my report. Any questions or comments on the Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability Report?
I do, if I may, Your Worship. A couple things. Just talking about the official plan consultation. Has any thought been given to not consulting over the holiday? I know it's before, but like it's December. We've consulted before to the varying degrees, but it's not generally the best time to try to get feedback from folks when you're leading up to Christmas. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Okay. I think we'll have a chance to discuss that at our,
Yeah.
we'll have a day, or good period of time to discuss how we approach that. So,
Okay.
but it is noted. Thank you for raising
Yeah.
that.
Great. Second one, so we talked in the sustainability about the business survey, and we talked about the resident survey. And I'm just wondering, like, have we ever created an action plan or a report to set out like tangible actions? I know we get a lot of information all the time, but we have never, to my knowledge, at least formally, publicly, set out some desired actions. And I know maybe part of that is because we're doing it every year and there's no time to actually do them. But I think that's something we should think about. If you're looking for feedback from us on that, it's one thing to have information and it's one thing to have data, but like if we can extract some tangible actions from the report, I think it'd be nice to do that to show A, that we're hearing folks, and B, that we are taking the time to actually implement a given number of these things. I just think there's so much information in the survey, and it's fantastic to hear, but what are we doing with it? And that's for another day, but it's just, if you're looking for feedback, that's
Yeah,
my feedback.
that is a good point. I think it's important that residents understand that it is a guiding light for us in terms of our decision-making in a lot of cases. And but you're right, it would be good to have a report in terms of letting people know how their suggestions were, if they were implemented, if not, why not, and show how they did impact on our decision-making. I think that's a good point. CAO, Jeremy?
We normally take all the information that we get from the report or from the survey and try to implement that into our budget every year. So most times we try to accomplish most things that are in there that are within our realm. So all that information usually is brought forward in a report, and then we do put the action items that are able to be done in our budget on a yearly basis. So.
Just one last thing on that. So when we're considering the business survey, like I really think there's an opportunity there to do one year and one the next. Take the time, get the survey results, come up with an action plan. Whether it's, it can go to whatever budget process, if it's this year or the next year, but give ourselves time to implement stuff because there's so much good information, but there's so many things that can change. And I don't know, I know the staff work very hard, and I know through the budget process we do get a lot of these things, but for the public that may not see what gets left on the cutting room floor, they don't know that their thoughts or their suggested actions may ever get. And that's not a criticism. I think it's just timing-wise, to do it every year, it's really hard to deliver on anything that comes out of it. So I know I've said this before, but I think I'd love to see budget money allocated for one year, one the next, and then really take a hard look at how we can implement those things.
Thank you, Councillor. So noted. Okay, any other comments or questions on the Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability Report? Okay, if not, the minutes are in your package. Any questions or comments on the minutes of that meeting? If not, I'll move to the next item on the agenda, inquiries by members of council. Anything about the town that anyone would like to inquire about this time? No? Okay, we'll go to other committees. Stratford Seniors Complex. I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant, chair of that committee, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following is an overview of projects and items being worked on from the Seniors Committee, dated November 6, 2025. The patio handrail was extended all along the walkway to the lower parking lot, which is good to see for residents, especially winter coming. Fall cleanup, the property was complete in preparation for winter. A quote has been accepted to replace the patio stones on 7 remaining patios with concrete pads. Staff are currently working with the contractor to schedule the work. Staff responded to a fire alarm at the seniors complex, confirmed that all residents had been evacuated and mustered to a certain area while waiting for the fire department to arrive and investigate. It was determined to be a false alarm, and the residents were given an all-clear return to the building. Staff and the management committee are reviewing the management committee policy for potential updates, and currently right now there's 30 people on the wait list. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, any comments or questions on the
Thank you, Crystal.
Stratford Seniors Complex report? If not, we'll thank you for your report.
Thank you very much.
We'll move to appointments to committees. Any appointments to committees? CAO? No? Okay, a proclamation. I do have a proclamation. Salvation Army Week. Salvation Army Christmas Kettle Campaign is a vital initiative in the fight against property and food insecurity in the town of Stratford. And the Salvation Army is dedicated to ensuring that no one faces hardship alone, offering support and compassion to those in need.
That's right.
And whereas during the holiday season, citizens are encouraged to come together and make a meaningful impact by contributing to a Christmas kettle or donating online at salvationarmy.ca. And whereas it is through our collective efforts as a town and as a community that we can bring hope to those who need it most. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Steve Ogden, Mayor of Stratford, do currently proclaim the week of November 8th to 14th, 2025 as Salvation Army Week in the town of Stratford. On behalf of the town of Stratford, I encourage all residents to support the efforts of the Salvation Army in their final push to give hope to the holiday season. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Stratford to be affixed here too. And I'll sign that as of today's date.
This day.
Thank you. Okay, so that's proclaimed. Any other business that anyone would like to bring to the table at this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make the motion. Bang, bang.